As the sun dipped below the horizon, the warm evening light filled the room. Alice stood by the large window, lost in her thoughts. Her husband, Mark, was out of town for work, and she would be alone for a few days. Normally, solitude wouldn't bother her, but lately, the feeling of emptiness inside her had become more pronounced. Over the years, her relationship with Mark had fallen into a routine, and the passion they once shared had faded into familiarity. Trying to shake off her worries, Alice prepared dinner. As she set the table, memories of the recent coldness in Mark's eyes flooded her mind. Whenever they spent time together, their conversations felt superficial, as if an emotional connection had been severed. Deep down, she knew something was wrong. Just then, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from David, an old friend from high school. David had been a significant part of her life, and although their friendship had faded after her marriage, he had never truly left her thoughts. The message read that he was in town and wanted to meet up. Initially hesitant, Alice eventually agreed, hoping this meeting might alleviate some of her loneliness. That evening, Alice met David at a cozy restaurant. He had not lost the charm he was known for during their school days. His laughter and genuine interest made Alice feel youthful again. As they reminisced, the attraction between them became evident. Alice felt a thrill at David's attention, but guilt crept in as she thought of Mark. She didn't want to betray him, but being with David ignited feelings she hadn't felt in a long time. After dinner, they decided to take a walk. Strolling through the park, David reached for her hand. Alice hesitated, but the warmth in his eyes urged her to give in. When their hands intertwined, time seemed to stand still. In that moment, Alice felt alive, yet a voice in her head warned her that this was wrong. As the days passed, Alice found herself drawn deeper into a relationship with David. Each time they met, she experienced a fleeting sense of happiness that seemed to fill the void in her life. However, the weight of her secret grew heavier, and she often replayed her choices in her mind. One evening, after a particularly wonderful day together, David turned to Alice and said, "I know something is missing in your life. Don't tell me you don't want me." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Alice felt her heart race. She wanted to deny it, but deep down, she knew she was lying to herself. Meanwhile, Mark returned home, oblivious to the turmoil brewing in Alice's heart. He sensed a change in her demeanor, but he couldn't pinpoint the cause. As Mark shared stories from his trip, Alice struggled to focus, her mind clouded with guilt and confusion. When their eyes met, Alice felt a pang of fear and regret. One fateful night, Alice knew she could no longer carry the burden of her secret. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding, and said to Mark, "I need to tell you something." Her voice trembled as she continued, "I've been seeing David, and we've crossed a line." The room fell silent, the weight of her confession palpable. Mark's face turned pale as disbelief washed over him. "Why would you do this?" Mark asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Alice, tears streaming down her face, explained, "I felt so lonely and disconnected. David made me feel alive again." Mark's heart shattered at her words, but deep down, a part of him appreciated her honesty. At first, Mark struggled to process the betrayal. Anger, hurt, and confusion swirled within him. Yet, as days passed, he began to understand that Alice's actions stemmed from their failing relationship. They both needed to confront their feelings and reevaluate what they wanted. Through conversations that were sometimes painful, Alice and Mark slowly started to peel back the layers of their emotions. They admitted their shortcomings and acknowledged how complacency had crept into their marriage. Each discussion brought tears, but also clarity. They began to understand the importance of communication and the necessity of rebuilding trust. One afternoon, they decided to take a weekend getaway to a cabin in the mountains, hoping to reconnect away from the distractions of daily life. The beautiful surroundings offered them a fresh perspective. They spent time hiking, cooking together, and enjoying the simple pleasures of life. During their time there, they made a pact to be more open and honest with each other. As the weekend came to an end, Alice felt a renewed sense of hope. They had navigated through the storm and emerged stronger, willing to fight for their relationship. Mark, too, realized the depth of his love for Alice and his desire to make things work. Back home, Alice and Mark embraced their journey of healing. They established regular date nights, dedicated time to talk about their feelings, and sought professional help to navigate their issues. Slowly, they began to rediscover the love they once shared. Alice found herself opening up about her fears and insecurities, while Mark worked to be more present and attentive. Over time, Alice reflected on her experiences with David. While their connection had been intense, it served as a crucial turning point in her life. She learned the value of honesty, loyalty, and the significance of nurturing her marriage. The lessons she gleaned from her mistakes became a foundation for a healthier relationship. Alice and Mark emerged from their struggles with a renewed commitment to one another. They understood that love required continuous effort and that it was okay to seek help when needed. The memory of David faded into the background, replaced by a deeper bond forged through vulnerability and understanding. In the end, Alice and Mark built a stronger marriage, one grounded in trust and communication. They faced challenges together and celebrated their victories. As they stood on the porch of their home one evening, watching the sunset, Alice realized that she had come full circle. The darkness she had once felt had transformed into a light, guiding them forward. Their journey taught them that love is not just about the grand gestures, but also the small moments of connection and understanding. Alice learned that true fulfillment comes from within, and that nurturing her relationship with Mark was the key to her happiness. Together, they embraced a future filled with hope, love, and the lessons of their past.